So in the last class, we were discussing how to write an abstract for academic writing, and we will continue with that. So what we already discussed that the definition of abstract is a concise description about the research. The meaning is that abstract should be about the research and not the act of writing. That is important thing. And the second thing is you have different type of abstract according to the need of different research activities. If you are writing an abstract for doctoral dissertation, then it is 200, 250 or 500. So this 200 is not an absolute word limit that I am mentioning. You need to follow accordingly the guidelines for particular journal, particular research activity. So these are just samples that I am sharing, 20 to 20, 25 to 50 words abstract for short article, particularly when you are writing for a journal titled EPW, English and Political Weekly, and between 100 to 500 words depending upon journal's requirement. So don't treat these figures as absolute, they are relative. Accordingly, you need to decide that what would be the length of the abstract. When it comes to writing for a journal, then obviously you need to be a bit strict. You should not cross the word limit. But when it comes to doctoral dissertation or master's dissertation, then you can cross the word limit. There is no as such hard and fast rule for that. Now we have already seen do's for writing an abstract. So abstract is generally like a paragraph, one paragraph, and the sentences that are there in the abstract, they are not standalone, but they are coherent. When we use the term coherent, that means that one sentence is linked to other sentence. And this is again opposite of stand alone, but paragraph must stand alone. And generally in a paragraph, we have introduction, body, and conclusion. So similarly, the same pattern you can follow in the abstract as well. We can use logical connections. Basically, logical connections are connectives, like moreover, but, however, furthermore. These type of connectives generally you need you use and you require once you link a sentence to other sentence. And when we say adds new information, that means that we are simply providing a description of your research and no new information. It must not be the case that you are providing some new information in the abstract that is not mentioned in the paper at all. Then you must avoid using jargon in your abstract, because your motive is that abstract must be understandable to a wide audience. When I use the term wide audience, that means interdisciplinary. Your abstract must be understandable, intelligible to a wide audience. If someone who is a researcher in sciences, that person should be able to understand your abstract. A person who is doing a research in mathematics, that person also can be able to understand what is there in their abstract. And similarly, if someone is writing an abstract for sciences, then you can also understand, or you should also understand. So that is the language. That is, abstract is understandable to a wide audience. If it is very specific, it is very technical, then also you need to keep in mind that at least the researchers who are doing different researches in that faculty, for example, faculty of humanities and social sciences, at least they can understand what is there in the abstract. If it is not purely interdisciplinary. And since you do not conduct any experiment in the laboratory generally, once you conduct a research in humanities, so for that particular case and in that particular situation, generally you avoid pronouns. You don't use pronoun in writing abstract or in research. Pronouns are not considered good to mention any personal pronoun. At the same time, passive verbs are used to downplay the author. There is a possibility that you have conducted interviews, you have distributed questionnaires. So don't write like I distributed questionnaires. Instead, you should write questionnaires were distributed. So here you can downplay the author while using passive verbs. Now these are the 4 steps of writing an abstract. What are those 4 steps? First one is motivation oblique problem statement. Second is methods oblique procedure oblique approach. Third one is results oblique findings oblique product. And fourth one is conclusion oblique implications. Now, why we have written these things in oblique? Why not motivation and problem statement? First thing is abstract is concise, abstract is precise. So you can't include everything. There is a possibility that you will frame a sentence that will be both a motivation and a problem statement. So what do we mean by problem statement? There is a problem, and you have discovered that problem, that there is some problem, there is some research gap, and you try to find out, you try to fill that particular gap, and that's why you pick that particular issue, you pick that particular topic, you pick that particular subject. So that problem statement eventually becomes your motivation, and one sentence must answer this. So there is no need to follow the headings like this in the abstract. Certain journals, they require these headings, that you first need to write the heading and the sentence that is corresponding to that particular heading. But in an abstract, there are 5-6 sentences, and each sentence must correspond to these headings. So first sentence, if you write, why do you care about the problem? So that answer must be reflected from that first sentence. Or what practical, scientific, theoretical, or artistic gap is your research filling? That is also answered in that particular statement. Then it comes to methods, procedure, and approach. So a specific method that you have employed, that you can use, a procedure, for example, textual analysis. If you have employed, generally in the research you employ textual analysis, but textual analysis is sometimes supported with ethnography, ethnomethodology, or field work. Then you can also mention that approach as well. Or if some theoretical perspective you have employed, let's say feminism, let's say Marxism, let's say structuralism, postmodernism, so that you can also specify very clearly in a word like feminism you have employed as a theoretical perspective. But where you have employed feminism or post-structuralism, you have employed on a text. That means your primary text is either a novel, your primary text is a collection of short stories, your primary text is a collection of, let's say, poetry. So first thing is the textual analysis, and textual analysis includes critical reading. What do we mean by critical reading? We mean that we study a text closely and carefully. So this is the meaning of critical here, that the surface level meaning is not important for you, but what is there in deep structure. That is the first thing. And second thing, what you are doing, you are employing some critical perspective, and that critical perspective will also you need to mention. So that will become, that type of sentence will become your method, procedure, approach. Under it is approach, it is a procedure, or it's a method, you can decide it what it is, or it is a theoretical perspective, that you can also decide. Now, results, findings, and product. Now you can't have a product in the research that you undertake in humanities. So you can have some results and findings. You need to be very sure that result, findings, they are different from conclusion. So don't confuse with conclusion and research and findings. Conclusion is the conclusion of the abstract. The conclusion of the paper is not the conclusion here. So conclusion of your abstract is like the last line of your abstract. And what is result and finding? The result and finding of your research, of your paper, of your thesis that you will write. So that way you can you can write, and you need to follow the same sequence as well. That first sentence or a couple of sentences, they must correspond to motivation and problem statement. One or two sentences, they must correspond to methods, procedure, and approach. One sentence must correspond to research findings, and one sentence corresponds to conclusion or implication. Now, there is a difference between conclusion and implication. That is, your finding is applicable. Your finding is uh, the implication of your findings. That is where it can be used in other fields as well. Or if someone wants to do further research, then from where the person needs to start the further different research. Because in one research you can't do everything. You have certain limitations, you have certain scope. So that scope is your limitation, that you mention in your research, that this is the scope and limitation of a particular paper. For example, you have selected 5 novels, 2 novels, 1 novel, and you are using feminist perspective. So what will be the limitation in scope in such case, such situation? That why you have selected only one novel? That is first thing. Another thing is, like, there is a possibility that writer must have written more than one novel, but you have only selected that particular novel. So what is the reason behind that? Next thing is, you are not the first person who is conducting the research on that particular novel. Then what is new? So certain researchers previously, they have found out the issues related to violence, related to subjugation, related to marginalization. Then what is new in your research? So that you need to mention at the same time, that okay, these things I have touched. For example, you are interested only in patriarchy. You are not interested in violence. You are not interested. You are not interested in subjugation or other type of thing. So you are the concept of patriarchy, not physical violence. So some restriction is there, or there is no. So that type of thing you can mention, that this is addressing only these issues. Or let's say there are certain novels where the female figure, the heroine, is walking out from the marriage institution, and that you want to highlight if it is not highlighted previously. So that type of thing you can mention, that I am focusing only on this but not the other areas which are related. So that will become your implications. So these 4 steps of writing an abstract, they are important, and you need to have a conceptual understanding of these 4 steps. Now this is one sample that we have selected, so that you will in actual see that which sentence is corresponding to which heading. So these headings we have written, motivation and problem statement, here we have written separately, and approach, results, conclusion. So here we have these 5 headings, because in the 4 steps of abstract writing, we have put motivation and problem statement in oblique, and here we have put them differently. So you can put them in one sentence or you can put them separately. There is no problem as such. Now this is already an abstract of a published paper, published in an international journal, and we will try to find out what are the problems that are there in this abstract. Now, since this is for a paper, so that's why the writer is using, the aim of this paper is to make a comparison between 2 female figures from 2 different religions and S1. So first thing what we can do, even like when we try to find out whether an abstract is a good abstract or not, we just label them like sentence 1, sentence 2, sentence 3, sentence 4, sentence 5 for our own convenience. So similarly, we have done this activity here, and there are 5 sentences. So we know that there are 5 sentences, and we also know that there are 4 established steps of writing an abstract. So we'll try to find out whether these sentences, they are corresponding to these 5 steps or not. First sentence, the aim of this paper is to make a comparison between 2 female figures from 2 different religions. Now, motivation either can be a gap in the previous research. So this is not a gap, because comparison cannot be a gap. Comparison cannot be that no one has compared these 2 female figures from 2 different religions, or not specifically these 2 heroines by name like Vashti and Sita, but any other female figures. So this comparison cannot be a gap in a research. We can't consider it as a gap in the research. And it cannot be a problem statement as well, because uh, you are comparing 2 female figures. How can it be a problem statement? So again, this sentence is not motivation. This sentence is not problem statement. But what is this? This is an approach. Comparative study is an approach, a method, a methodology that you are using. So the aim of this paper is to make a comparison between 2 female figures from 2 different religions. This is actually an approach or a method that you are using. So one problem is that you are upsetting the sequence. First thing should be motivation, second thing should be problem statement, or in one sentence both things should be there. But here your first sentence is your approach or methodology. So this is quite a problematic thing, that you are upsetting the steps. Now we will move to the second sentence. Vashti is one of the unsung heroines in the book of Ashtar in the Hebrew Bible, while Sita in the book of Ramayana is a revered female figure among Hindus. Now this is again not a problem, that why Vashti is not worshipped and why Sita is worshipped, or why Sita is a sacred figure in Ramayana and Vashti is not, or why Sita is quite popular and Vashti is unsung. So this cannot be a problem, that because you are not doing a propaganda research, that your aim is that my candidate should win. So it's not like you are with Vashti and you want to make Vashti popular. So here there is no contest between Vashti and Sita. So again, this cannot be a research gap, and this cannot be as well a problem statement. But at the same time, this is also not an approach and methodology, that Vashti is one of the unsung heroines in the book of Ashtar in the Hebrew Bible, while Sita in the book of Ramayana is a revered female figure among Hindus. Then what is this? Because in the previous sentence, we have mentioned 2 female figures from 2 different religions. So now what we are doing, we are simply describing those 2 female figures. So one is Vashti in the book of Ashtar in Hebrew Bible. So Hebrew Bible, that means the religion is Christianity. We are talking about Sita in the book of Ramayana among Hindus. So again, like we are talking about female figure, second female figure, and the religion. So this sentence is totally a waste here. Why it's a waste? Because you are describing, you are wasting so many words here. Vashti is one of the unsung heroines in the book of Esther in the Hebrew Bible. So this type of sentence is good in the paper, in the main research, but not in the abstract. Now let's move forward and see the third sentence. The tales of these women seem to display similarity in the ideals they embody, and hence we endeavor to read them together. Reading them together is again an approach. When can you read two texts together? You compare and contrast. So again, you are taking two texts like, let's say, Hebrew Bible. You are opening that book and you have Ramayana. So two books are side by side each other. Again, there is a comparison. So sentence three is again not a motivation, again not a problem statement. This is again the act of writing you are describing. So I said like abstract is about the research and not about the act of writing. And here what you are doing, you are describing the act of writing, the act that you have done. The tales of these women seem to display similarity in the ideals they embody, hence we endeavor to read them together. So, and again, we and this pronoun, as I said, like this, the use of pronoun is not good. So, we is wrong. Again, we wish to explore the extent to which Vashti and Sita's tale of female courage and daring could inspire women today who continue to suffocate under oppressive patriarchal context. Now, this sentence can be a motivation. Fourth sentence, but again, the starting is not correct. We wish to explore the extent. Why you are using pronoun here? So we can say the study explores the study. So we are minusing, we are subtracting this thing we wish to. The study explores the extent to which Vashti and Sita's tale of female courage and daring could inspire women today who continue to suffocate under oppressive patriarchal context. So this is a problem as well as a motivation. Problem is oppressive patriarchal context, the suffocation present day women they are facing. And what is the motivation? That these ancient tales of Vashti and Sita, they can give them some courage and daring. So again, this sentence should be the first sentence of motivation and problem statement, and here it is coming as the fourth sentence. But the problem with the pronoun is there, so we need to check that whether we are using pronouns and why we are using pronouns. So we must not use pronouns generally when we write an abstract. Last sentence, this is relevant to the context of Botswana. Now this is your research site. Actually, this is relevant to the context of Botswana. So you are telling that my research is limited to Botswana. So again, this can be the scope, that your research is not in India, your research is not dealing with the entire women of this world. So this is your scope and limitation, that this is relevant to the context of Botswana. You are very limited to one country, one nationality, that is Botswana, right? Where despite global efforts to ban gender-based inequality, women continue to be victimized. Women continue to be victimized. That is your conclusion, that women continue to be victimized. Uh, and though there are various efforts, various practices, activities to ban gender-based inequality, but this thing is happening. So it's like a result and conclusion that you are showing. So sentence 5 is appropriate, and this is relevant to the context of Botswana. Again, uh, it's relevant here because you are also mentioning the research side. But as you can see that there are various problem in this abstract. And here the problem that is related to the steps, the problems that are related to wasting words, because once you write an abstract, then you need to use your words like money. You need to use your words economically. You must not waste your words like this. For example, the aim of this paper is to make a comparison. Now, how many words you are wasting in the line 1? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can simply write the paper compares. Now the paper compares, it's like 2 words in place of 9. The paper compare. The aim of this paper is to make a. So again, you do not have that liberty to waste your words in writing an abstract. So you need to, once you write something, you need to consider whether I am repeating the same thing, whether I am beating around the bush, whether I am indirect in my approach. So all those things you need to take care of once you write an abstract. So these are the steps, these are the problems that we have discussed today. And I stop here, and I will tell you how we can rectify these things in the next class. And I stop this presentation, and if you have any doubt, you can ask me.